Hello, everyone. I can't see you guys. I'm still loading on my end. I am Teacher Allyson. Welcome back. We are here with our online teacher chat, and it is my turn to not be home. Oh, I was doing my introduction. Hello. Oh, hold on. You guys.
What happened?
Okay. Sorry. It loaded on the other end and I was talking to myself. Anyways, it's my turn.
Yep.
It's my turn not to be home. I am visiting my parents. So, on the go anywhere you can teach. We're here with the online teacher chat we do most Fridays. And I'm here with these lovely ladies. And we're going to tell you where you can find me. You can obviously find me here on my YouTube channel or on Instagram at teacher.allyson or Facebook at Teacher Allyson as well.
Hey, well, hello, I'm Danielle, and you can find me, look for Danielle Brigette on Facebook and on YouTube, and my website is teachingonlineheadquarters.com.
I'm Teacher Lisa, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Learning with Lisa, and you can also find me on LinkedIn as well, and my YouTube channel is Learning with Lisa.
Go ahead, Alejandra.
All right, hello, I'm Alejandra. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at teacher_Alejandra.
And I am Beth, and I'm Teach From Home Beth on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you guys. We are talking about levels 5 and 6 for VIPKid. For those of you who are new here, we've been kind of working our way through. You can check all of our channels for our past videos. Today we are focusing on 5 and 6. So let's start off. Who is certified for, what are you certified in? All right, let's start with that.
Okay, I'm certified for 5 and 6, so I think I can talk about both of those.
Okay.
And I am certified just in level 5.
And me too. I am just certified in level 5, and it's actually more recently I was certified in level 5.
So I was certified for level 5 for a minute, and then they took it away from me, and I'll tell you why. But that's the only thing that I was certified in. So I've never taught level 6.
I'm certified in 5 and 6 as well. 6 is very recent. Like I just cleared my certification, like very recent, not very long ago. So I do have a little bit of experience, but take it or leave it. All right. So okay. So Danielle, you've taught 5 and 6. What is your favorite?
My favorite is 6. I actually don't really like much about level 5. It's just the way it's set up is the only one, it feels like, in VIPKid that's set up that way, and it's not easy for the kids, and it's not even doable for the kids sometimes. It's almost too hard for them to do. I feel like level 5 is when you are starting to apply everything you learned in the beginning levels. And so I know that VIPKid says that this is where the kids are already taking English somewhere else, usually like at school and other places. So they're combining what they're learning at school and at VIPKid in the previous levels to like really build. But some of the content is boring and difficult, and it's not my favorite. But level 6, I actually like a lot. So we can talk about, you want me to tell you why, or wait?
Yeah, go ahead and tell us.
Okay, so I like
Take it away.
I like level 6 because they have pretty good stories that I'm not bored about. The kids aren't bored about. They're pretty interesting stories with lots of chances for them to have some good comprehension questions to answer. And so usually at that level, they can answer them. I feel like there's more difficult vocabulary, but they can do it there. And it's more integrated into the stories, not just like random vocabulary. Level 6 also has more science in it, and so does level 5. I think they're getting more and more science into those levels, and that's kind of interesting because it's a little bit different than there's a lot of math and English in the beginning levels, but this is where they start putting like science and history into them. So like deforestation, you're going to learn that in level 6.
Oh,
And planet and space in level 5.
That's cool. Yeah,
That's more fun than deforestation, though. Like, let's
Yeah.
be real.
I would agree.
All right,
Just
Lisa.
wait till you get
So
to the
with
higher
my
levels.
interaction with level 5, I've taught quite a few level 5 classes, but nothing what you're sharing, Danielle. But mine has been more of like the boring topics, like friendship and character traits, and I will say the one okay part about that is you can really extend with questions and really kind of talk about like family and your friends at school. And there's a lot of opportunities for extension questions, but even that sometimes they're just like, oh my gosh, I don't care to talk about my friends, or you know what I mean? So it can be kind of dry. The topic definitely can be kind of dry. And the other part is that I found that you really have to make sure that you're pacing well, because the slides only go to like 19, and then the rest of the slides is, do you have any questions? It's talking about the project, which you can only talk about that so much too. So the pacing is super, super important when you're teaching a level 5 class. So I would say level 5 is probably not my favorite, but I don't teach level 6, so I really can't compare the two.
You just reminded me about that project explanation that they don't do anywhere else. And it doesn't make
Yes.
any sense. Because if you're level 5, you've already done a project, you don't need to go over it. They know how to do it.
Yeah,
And
then
it just makes it super short in the 19 slides before that.
Yes, exactly. And I know sometimes if you have a slow reader, which we talked about this in the last live that we did, if you have slow readers, then it's beneficial. But what if you have a super advanced kid and you're just like, okay, I can only extend so much on friendship. Like there's only so much you can talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, that project review is killer. Like, I've had one, they're like, I don't know. And
I feel like most of them don't even do it.
They don't do it in any of the levels. Like,
I have a few regulars that do it, but
the vast majority, like everywhere, they're like, my kid doesn't do it. Can we have an option to say that? Like, so why are we spending, like, we could be teaching them. Why are we spending time like doing a project? Because I know they can do projects. We don't need to teach them how to do the project, especially by level 5. They start at level 2. Like,
I really
Yeah,
don't
and then
think
they
they
want
have
you-
that in any other one. I think
haven't
that's
seen
the
it.
only level that has that weird project explanation at the end. And think about it and plan it. Well, they already know how to do that.
Yeah. And especially if like you're having them for the first time, you don't know how much in depth they already went with the previous teachers. So you're like, okay, am I being redundant, or is this all new to them? Like it's very confusing.
exactly.
And I was going to piggyback off you actually, Lisa, because I also only have certification in level 5, not 6. And I've noticed it's also very repetitive. It's not my personal favorite either, because I've only taught it, I think, with 2 or 3 students that were regular-ish. But sometimes you start like going back to the friendship, they ask the same questions over and over. So my student would tell me the same story like over and over. And it's kind of hard to find something to even extend with when they've already expressed themselves. So that's all I really have to say about it. I don't have too much experience. But yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I got certified and I didn't get a whole lot of level 5 students at first. And maybe I got like a few here and there, but nothing that I really remember, except for this one student that I had recently. And she was like so advanced. We were able to have such good conversations, and she really just took off with the class. Like I would ask her some questions, but like it was, again, that unit about friendship, and then the unit about like technology and how we can use technology to talk with friends that live far away. And then the health unit, all about eating healthy and exercising. That was what I remember going through with her. And she was just like taking it away, telling me all this stuff, talking like she was fluent. And so it was really good classes. It wasn't like I had a struggling learner and I was like, this is so far advanced. It's so painful to go through this with them because they don't get it. She totally got it. And so I really liked having those classes with her. But I got an email, because what happened was I got certified and they were like, what you're going to do is, if you don't want to do a demo lesson where we like pass you showing that you can do it, we'll let you teach 5 classes. We'll watch a couple of them and see if you can move on to be fully certified or whatever. And so they came back saying, you're not using props in your level 5 class. You have to use props. And so you need to do that. We're going to watch another 5 of your videos and you need to make sure that you do that. In these lessons, there was nothing I could use. I mean, I could be like, look, here's a phone, technology. Like, she was so far advanced, I didn't have to use Realia with her and try to use props. Like, there was nothing I had to explain to her. So I just kept doing what I was doing. We had great classes. They kept giving me 5 apples. She kept rebooking me. So obviously she enjoyed what I was teaching with her. And then it came back again saying, you're not using props. You have got to use props. So I kept not using props. And so they took it away from me. And they're like, if you want to be recertified in this, you have to do a demo lesson. And I was like, I don't really have any other people that I'm doing this with anyway. I'm not getting other students in level 5. So maybe if some of my regulars who are in level 3 eventually get to level 5, I will certify for it, but I'm just not really worried about it right now. So that was my experience with level 5.
So we kind of touched on it, but my next question is, if you are involved in any of the Facebook groups, just all the time, I see, I hate level 6. I hate level 6. And for us, the consensus seems to be we hate level 5.
Yes,
So-
agreed. I don't like level 5.
Those of you who, Lisa and Alejandra and Beth, you can chime in from what you've seen on Facebook or somewhere of your own experience, but like, why do you hate level 5? Why do you think others hate level 6? Because I'm the total opposite. I love level 6. I don't even know if I answered my question to level 5. I'm sorry, guys. It's a day. Definitely my favorite is level 6. They have like these science experiments, like Danyel was saying, and they're fun to teach. And I don't always have all the stuff you need, but you pull up a video on your phone, and I had lots of fun with it. And I had great kids. And I'm sure that was some of it, was I was not struggling to pull a struggling learner along, but they have more relevant stuff. And I feel like I'm always saying, it's so relevant. And that's why I like it. That's definitely why. So when people, they say they hate level 6, I've never seen a reason, but I don't know. I loved it. I also taught science for a year when I was a brick and mortar teacher. So that could be some of it, is I'm just used to bringing in the props and doing the experiments and making a mess. I don't know. What about you guys?
So I don't know why they're saying that. The only thing I could think of is that you actually have to look at the slides, because you might not know some of that stuff from elementary school. So you actually have to prepare to look at these. I mean, once you do it, you got it. But like, some things are a little bit more complex than they are in like 3 or 4 that you maybe as a teacher don't remember from school. So I would say that, you know, you're going into suffixes and things like that, adverbs of frequency and time and place, and then metaphors. So I would say like the language conventions and grammar is a little bit harder for you as a teacher. So maybe that's why they don't like it. But to me, I think it makes it interesting. One part to me that's a little bit hard is the schwa sound. That's all over that lesson 6. But I still like it better than 5. 5 just feels like it doesn't have anything like really deep like that. It's just kind of short and weird with the project at the end. So I like it. I think it's probably because they have to prepare, would be my guess.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think in all honesty, you really should be looking at the slides before you start a lesson. I mean, it's just like a brick and mortar class. Like, you're planning and prepping your lesson for your students, you know, just walk in, okay, what are we going to do today? So I think it's just, maybe there's more prep going into it, more planning and kind of making sure they have an understanding. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, you have to explain it more, I think. Like, you really got to know it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, you do have to plan more, because I mean, sequencing may be easy, but maybe like prediction and visualizing is not going to be so easy. That's on there too. And fact and opinion, cause and effect, those things are a little bit more than what you're doing before that.
That's everything I used to teach in 4th grade. All of that. I
remember
need to get certified in level 6.
You should. Even I think level 5 is going to give people like the not want to get certified in level 6, and I think that's not good, because I feel like level 6 is like the beginning of the awesome ones that you just really interact, and they're learning like just hardcore learning from you, and you can really build that with them.
Awesome.
Alejandra?
I have no input, so you can totally skip me because I don't even know. The only thing I was thinking too was with planning, because like we've said, I mean, me personally, I've taught level 2 and 3 so much that I don't have to plan for those anymore.
Right.
But even when I do like level 4s, level 5s, I do at least look over it. So it would make sense that maybe you have to look over it, or maybe you're not getting a lot of students. I don't know. Or struggling students. That's another reason I didn't like level 5, because I said I think I've only taught about 2, and one of the students was low level, so it was very challenging. So I didn't enjoy it.
I don't think you're going to have as many struggling students in level 6, and it repeats over and over. I mean, not to the point where it's super annoying, but like it's a lot of, they go back. So there's a whole section on the holidays. So you do Christmas and then Kwanzaa, then Hanukkah and Islam. You just go back though. Each time you'll go back a little bit and remember something from Christmas, a little bit of compare and contrasting the holidays. So you're still reviewing those beginning ones, but you're learning the new stuff too.
Which they learn a ton about Christmas in level 3.
Yes.
So repetitive.
That's a rough
Well,
unit.
The Christmas stuff in this 6 is more like a story. It's like it's not like that.
So you're using like context clues and like all the reading strategies. Okay.
And now I'm super intrigued about level 6. It makes me want to, I should just get both certifications and
there you go.
Do the class and get certified in it.
Maybe we shouldn't have played it up so much because, we want to keep the bookings for ourselves.
Do you find that there are a lot of like students for those levels?
Most of mine are regulars that have moved up to it.
I got new ones to get certified, and then I kept one regular in level 5, and I have not seen a level 6 since, and I kind of miss it. So I might actively start trying to get some level 6s, but it does take extra prep because like that grammar, I have to make sure I know the reasoning and I know the why. So I haven't like actively done it because I have gotten crazy busy with other things on top of VIPKid. So I do miss level 6 though.
I can tell you guys more about level 6. There's a lot of compound words. There's analyzing characters, plot, prediction. You learn how to solve a mystery.
Oh, I hated that one.
You learn indefinite pronouns. So like there's a lot of connecting their prior knowledge to what they're doing. There's main idea, details. I'm
going to get level 6 after we're done with this. Just kidding.
Yeah, I think it's
I want to though.
It's not like the perfect level, but it is the beginning of the awesome ones, I think, because 7 and 8 are usually super fun. So
I mean, I think if the content is good and I enjoy that, then I can bear with the other piece of it of not connecting or whatever.
You only have to know, like do it once or twice and you'll know all of the grammar and all that stuff. It's not like super hard, but you'll teach them over and over again. So like I could teach the Christmas and Hanukkah and all that in my sleep. I do have a little bit of an issue with how they explain Christmas because in some of the other ones, they're actually explaining what the holiday actually is. And then Christmas is just like a fun time. That's not really what it is. It's not just the family celebration. So they kind of skip that. But then in Hanukkah, they talk about Jewish people and their God and all this stuff. And in Christmas, completely.
They don't touch it.
No, not at all.
That is interesting. I wonder why.
It could be why some people don't like it because it talks about Christmas just being a celebration with family. Like all of them are celebrations and all of them bring family together. But like Islam, they kind of go into, they even say Muhammad's name in it. So it's a little bit different for me for Christmas. I know a lot about Christianity. So I was like, wow, okay. If you're going to say something about the Jewish people's God,
right, why wouldn't you
why wouldn't you just extend that? Or maybe it's just too much for the kids. I don't know, or their culture too. It could be their culture. It is the
culture. I know they're like, so I've had friends do like missionary work over there and stuff. And like when they write emails home, they go on like mission trips, and when they're writing emails home, they can't like say the word God or Jesus or any of that because it's so censored. And so they find ways around it. So I definitely think that probably has something to do with it. And I know those that do believe in Christianity over there have to like hide, and so it's definitely not accepted. It's definitely.
But then, like you said,
But then the
talking
other ones
about
are
the Jewish
allowed.
culture, why is that allowed?
I
Right.
mean, it doesn't go into like super depth about it, but at least it is saying like it's a religion. Christmas is just coming off as a celebration. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times they're comparing it to Chinese New Year as a celebration where families get together. And so, you know, in America, yes, we do the same thing, but there's a lot of people that celebrate the real reason for Christmas and not just
Right.
buying gifts and things. And so I don't feel like you can tell the kids that. Some kids have told me before, but I think that could be a reason why people are kind of turned off by it. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, people could put in the comments if they think that. I was just kind of
That
like,
would be
well,
good.
it's their curriculum. They can teach it however they want, but teach the facts the same. You know,
Yes.
if you're gonna say, and they're also, I don't know, it also says like it's a story. You know, there's, I don't know. I'm not offended. I'm just like saying that it's different than how maybe even factually you would teach that stuff here. So at
Very
least they're
interesting.
learning about
It
it.
is very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Annie,
they're.
go ahead.
I don't want to keep talking if you guys have stuff to add, but I know you're not. A lot of you aren't certified in 6, so I could tell you the units are animal adaptations, animals and people, holidays around the world, season of giving, which includes those holidays, and then matter. So it goes into the science, like what is matter and kinds of matter are 2 different units, and then discovering the unknown, solving mysteries, changes in nature, and then it just keeps going. Discovering the Americas I thought was cool because it talks about you know, discovering America, and kind of neat for them to give your own twist on it to them. So
Do you find a lot of your students in level 6 are really intrigued by those topics? Or would you say they
I
kind of
mean,
just
I
go
would say
through
they're about as intrigued as they are about everything else. You know, like they're just taking class.
it? Especially at that
know.
age.
I've had some of the kids that are really good at comparing, like in I think it's level 6 that has the explorers, and it has all the Chinese explorers first, and then it has American ones. And that, you know, is kind of fun to talk about because they know a lot about the Chinese explorers, and I've never heard of them at all. So it's fun to kind of go back and forth with them about like comparing them, because you compare a lot in that lesson, level 6. So I think they're interested, but I don't know that they've heard a lot of it, just like I haven't heard a lot of theirs. And I always get scared that I'm not saying the names right, because there's like the names
Me
of the explorers.
too.
I have the kids tell me over and over and over, and I write a little note because I know we're going to be in that unit for a while. And then I even put it like in my teacher notes. This is how you actually say it, because it doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
And the kids
I'll
laugh at me
listen
because I
to, I'll
can't.
like type it in and listen to how they say it, like on Google. Make sure
That's a
I'm
good
saying it
idea.
right.
Yeah, I don't want to be offensive, but I mean, I don't know the actual name, and so they do.
What ages do you see take those classes the most?
I think most of my kids are about 12.
Okay.
And we're all older too.
Yeah. And yeah, I think you have some other questions still, right, Allison?
Yeah. So we're going to move on, but if you have an opinion, let us know, because I want to know. Anyways, we're going to talk about teaching tips, which we've kind of talked about a little bit, but teaching tips for level 5 and level 6, because it's definitely different than your little kids where you're counting out sentences on fingers, or definitely, you know, showing up your physical props. So what teaching tips do you have for these?
Mine would be have your iPad or your phone ready to look up anything they don't know what it is. Ask them if they know what things are, because they don't know what things are. They'll read it, they'll answer the comprehension question, but they don't know what sprinkling means, or sprinkles or something like that. I had that today, but I think that was in level 7. But just when you're reading it with them, think about the words that they might not have a clue of what they actually are. And usually you can tell because they don't know how to sound them out. And so then they don't know what the word actually is if they can't even sound it out usually. And of course, review the slides 6 and on. You need to know those things because you need to be able to explain it frontwards and backwards, not just you looked it up on Google for 5 seconds and oh yeah, like they're going to ask you, what is it? What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And so it was a little bit harder to teach them.
I would agree. Having the phone, I always have my phone, and I'll have my Google Slides as well for my rewards. I would agree having that on hand is super important. I also think that since there is a lot of reading in those levels, making sure you're asking those right comprehension questions to make sure that they understand what it is that they are reading. Especially like you just said, Danielle, checking for that understanding, because if they're reading these words incorrectly, you kind of have an idea that they don't know what is they're reading, what's going on. So just asking those questions and then really trying to get those extension questions. I talk a lot about that because I think it's so important to make that connection of what they're learning and then tying it into their everyday life. And those are great opportunities for them to learn about your culture and theirs as well, especially if they're regulars.
Now I'm thinking more about like building rapport. I mean, you do it with every student, but at least in level 5, the one student that I did teach a lot, I always try to find what she's interested in, and I always write it down so we can kind of continue our conversations during our next class. So being specific and actually having conversations, since they now have the ability, I've noticed that parents actually really appreciate that. Even I've had a few parents that they don't mind if we don't complete the entire lesson. If they're having lots of good conversations, that's just as great. So really developing good conversations and remembering and paying attention to what they're actually talking about.
Mm-hmm. And I think pacing is huge too. I kind of referenced to that earlier.
Yes. Beth?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that. I think that was great. And you guys all have more experience than I do. So I'm going to not really share.
I think to add on to what Alejandra said, at that age, about 12 or 13, they're going to be getting into middle school. And if you didn't know, that's a huge deal, and they get picked, or there's a certain process that they get into a certain middle school, and it's like a huge deal. So that's something that you could talk to them about, like around the getting close to the summer, they're having to take a test that decides their fate of what middle school they're going to. And that's something that they're worried about. They're studying hard about it, and they want to tell you about it and get you excited that they got into the school that they like or they wanted, because I don't understand the entire process. Maybe you guys do, but that's something that is definitely around 6th to 7th grade. They're going to 7th grade. When they finish 6th, that 6th grade is like a huge, huge thing to them.
And it's like right now, this time frame, like right now, a few weeks ago, and a lot of people are complaining about bookings, and we have been for months, but I think that's like,
so right now
been
it's June,
for years.
July, right?
Yeah. It's been for years this time where bookings kind of slump a little bit because kids are stressed and they're studying their behinds off.
Yeah, and the coronavirus, there's a problem that they're not able to get in there and get that test done. So that's why some of them went back for just a week or two to take the test, and then they're out again because they had to get those tests done.
Yeah. And I'm finding too, a lot of my kids like are not in school, or they are. And I'm like, okay, so are you back to school? Or I don't understand why there's that discrepancy of different kids are in school and some are not.
I wonder if it has to do with region, because one of my like longest regular, one of my favorite kids, she lives in Beijing, and sometimes she does school on the computer, and I'll ask her, did you do school on the computer again? And she's like, no. Are you done with school? And she doesn't know. It's like, I think some of it's probably they just don't know. And also Beijing is like a big city where maybe you go to the smaller ones, like just out here, the smaller states and cities aren't as affected as like California or New York or Florida, like more populated states, greater the chance. That's my guess. I don't know. I'm not there.
So I was going to say too, I think it is some of that. And then one of my students said with grade level. So I can't remember what grade she's in, but she had a younger brother that I know was in elementary school, and he wasn't going to school. Okay. So
they're not going back
till
till September.
Yeah,
definitely. I've heard that September, maybe the littler kids will come back if the older kids, if it's all right for them, because they have to take that test. Like the little kids don't have to take those tests. But I have a level 7 that I want to say she lives in Beijing, but she said that they can choose if they go in or not for her, because some people some people were getting sick. So then the parents were allowed to choose if they go in or not. So like if she has a test, she's going in, but if not, she's staying home. So that might be why it's, well, I mean, it's inconsistent everywhere. I have another student in Hong Kong that's the same, like totally inconsistent.
Oh,
So-
wow, you have a student in Hong Kong? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just got into his middle school.
Ooh.
So
Yay!
Oh, bow, bow.
yeah.
So I see a few of you are watching. So if you have any thoughts or if your little kiddos have told you anything, let us know in the comments. I'm keeping an eye on it. It's, the hot question of the year. What are you guys doing? What's going on? So let us know. And then our last question is, so when you get certified, we all know you have 5 classes and then you're going to go from basic to advanced or basic and you do it again. So what are your tips for teaching this? Because they do still expect the props and they do still expect the realia. So what are your tips? Because it can feel very elementary for these more advanced kids. What do you do?
I got certified before that was required. So I
Well,
didn't
what
have
would
to
you do now?
If I had, what I would do now would just do the props until I was done getting certified because you
Me
really
too.
need them.
Well,
Because really,
would
honestly,
do
if
the
you're
same
going
thing.
to teach these levels, you want to use things like, I don't know the right word, like ad hoc, where like, I'm like, oh, you don't know what cupcake is? I'm going to look it up real quick because I can't anticipate what you're not going to
Mhm.
know. And so
Right.
just having a bunch of props here, yet maybe if I've taught it a few times, I can anticipate what most of the kids don't know. But I really think like it's so personalized to the student and their knowledge base of the vocabulary. You really
Yes.
should, yeah. I mean, I would do whatever VIPKid says to get the certification and then move on with your life.
Yeah, that's what I would do too.
Each kid is going to need something different and want something different.
And I think you could also kind of look at the topics and kind of maybe have a few things or have some pictures on your phone that you could kind of guess would be a possibility that you would have to kind of review with them. And I mean, I think that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for you to have everything on hand, but just enough to cover those topics.
How many, Beth? 5 props or what? What did they tell you, Beth?
I don't even think it was a specific number. They just said you must use props. And it's like I had my Google Slides, but like I said, if I had a student that was not as advanced and didn't know how to pronounce the words or didn't know the comprehension questions, I would use my Google Slides and be like, this is what it is. She knew everything. So there was really no need for me to use any props. And so that's why I was like, I know you want me to, but I'm going to keep teaching the way I want to teach. And then they're like, well, you're not certified anymore.
That's why I said, do what they say.
Yeah,
do what
just
you want.
do
Because
it.
you
Who
know
cares?
your students. I mean, I'm not saying don't do what the company wants you to do. I'm just saying like to get the certification, and it really at that level is each student needs something else. And I mean, show the camel for adaptations.
Yep.
Be done with it.
Make it a dog and pony show, and then you're done.
Yep.
And that's what it is.
Alejandra?
I don't really have anything. The only thing I could think of is if you need like ideas for props, like you guys said, use an animal prop you have. You can have your student talk about it, or just have a whiteboard. You can use a whiteboard for everything, and there's a prop, or using personal pictures. So try when you are getting your certification to use those simple things. You don't have to overthink it, but have them handy. And then if you need them when you're actually teaching, they're there. But I don't have anything really to say.
So I seriously, I'm sorry, I hope you can't hear my dogs going crazy outside. I really relied on, so if you go to the desktop app, I haven't seen it available on my phone, but they have a spot for props. And so I really relied on that because as we were saying, level 6, some of it gets to science and I don't have that. So I would just pull out some of the minor props. So sorry, in level 5, one of them was the friendship unit writing a letter. So I just pulled out an envelope. I was like, this is an envelope. And I pulled it out for 0.5 seconds. And it was and then I try to find any reason to use my big old whiteboard and just be like, here's 2 props. And then, for whatever reason, whatever, the dog and pony show, if you don't need it, then great. We're going to move on and have great conversations. So what rewards do you do? Because they do want that secondary reward. That's also another beast. They don't want to pick a star. They've seen it all. They've played tic-tac-toe. They've done everything. What do you guys do when you have to do it?
So are the rewards part of the certification too, the requirement, I'm
think
guessing?
so, because when I certified for 7, they said secondary rewards aren't so much required, but I have seen it in the other ones.
I'm wondering if, I was just thinking when you were talking about the whiteboard, are they counting that as more than one prop or just one?
I think just one.
Even if you're drawing different things every time, it's just one prop.
I don't know.
And I guess I would have a
It's
camel
like
and a
I have
whiteboard.
two.
And
I have one that I use for my rewards and one that I use for my classroom.
So my rewards are usually at level 5. Sometimes they're over it. They're like, oh my God, I don't want a My Little Pony. I'm so grown up. You know, like I'm 11. Okay. I have a 10-year-old, so I know how they are. But some of them are like, no, this isn't cool. And I'll just ask them. A lot of times, almost every regular, I have decided that they need to practice conversational English with me, and that is our reward. So we will finish with 4 minutes left or 3 minutes left. I mean, it depends. That gives me the buffer. If it's a really hard thing for them to grasp, we don't have any minutes left to talk, but our reward is talking. I just give stars and I say, I'm going to give you a star and we're going to talk. And most of them are fine with that. I still have some kids that want Legos. It's their favorite toy, but I go back and forth with them, usually just only talking, because they really, at that point, their benefit is talking and their parents want them to talk. And even when they're talking conversationally to me, I still correct their English when they're talking to me. I try to write down while they're talking, like where they messed up. And then I go back and say, you know, it's person, not people's or whatever, because that's where they're going to sound like they're not a native English speaker in the conversations.
Yep.
I couldn't agree more. I am right there with you. So I use Google Slides, and I actually, for those level 5 kids, I'll usually pull up the conversation activity, and then there's all kinds of conversations. You know, one of them I did last week is like, if you were an animal, would you rather live in the ocean or the lake, and why? So then you're kind of reviewing, well, what is a lake? What's an ocean? And just kind of giving their personal opinions, but then also reviewing that content. So I couldn't agree more. That conversation is so important, because I feel like a lot of the kids, they can get through these slides, but that conversation piece is what they struggle with, and those sentences, and just really being able to articulate their thoughts.
Yeah, I'm basically the same. Oh, go ahead.
No,
I don't
go
have
ahead.
anything to add. All I was going to say was that I'm basically the same, that I give them the option. I do just stars. I say, do you just want stars? Do you want to ask me a question? Do you want to talk about blah, blah, blah? Or do you want a Google slide? Like, I just ask because they're old enough at that point. So.
And I will say, like you said, Danyel, there's been times where we didn't even get the secondary slot reward, because there wasn't enough time, and we were spending a lot of time in conversation and extension questions that we didn't get to it, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I feel like I do, if I know I'm not going to be wasting my time on a secondary reward, which I think is always a waste of time. I really think we should be talking to them in every level instead of doing those rewards, because that is more beneficial than anything. But when I know I'm going to be talking and just giving the stars, I will talk throughout. So I'm not like giving a star and asking them a question that we're talking about, but I will extend each thing as I can to make them actually be having conversations with me throughout. And then maybe we'll have something at the end that we talk about. But usually I know them by that time, and I usually have mostly regulars. So.
But I think with your secondary rewards, no matter what you do, you should always be encouraging those sentences, no matter what. Not just, oh, here, pick a number. Oh, that's awesome. Like, talk about it. I mean, even if you're talking about colors, okay, what are they wearing? And have them use pronouns and, the verb to wear, and adding in those adjectives. I mean, that's huge. So even if you are doing secondary rewards often, just making sure that you're really encouraging those sentences at all times.
So Lisa, I do exactly what you did. I I did the would you rathers. So it gave me a chance to talk about it, but I also like really paired it with the star, like, okay, let's do a star. Now, would you rather, just for the Dog and Pony show, because I was trying to get certified and I didn't want to do it again. So would you rather, I think one of them was live by the mountains or live by the beach, and why? And then it was a little bit of rapport because I told them my choice and they told me theirs. And some of them could tell me why, some of them couldn't, but that gave me a chance to model too. I said the beach because I don't like the cold. I really like the beach. It's relaxing. And so it was great extension, not necessarily tied to the lesson, but I just prepped 5 or 6 questions ahead of time. And I stuck to those 6 questions for my entire review section, because my entire like basic, because it was easy and I didn't want to have to keep coming up with it over and over. And that's like what I hate about Google Slides, is I'm always trying to find a new one. And that gets tiring after a while too, because some of them are in love with Elsa and there's only so many Elsa and Frozen ones.
Yes. I have a boy that I see every day and he's in love with Ultraman. Yeah, there's only so many Ultraman activities.
I had one too.
Sorry, buddy. Can't always have it for you.
Allison, I think you made a really good point about if they need you to model how to answer the question, because you should give them think time, but if it gets long enough that you realize they don't really, I'll say, do you even know what I'm asking you? And they'll be like, no. Or I will say, like, here's what I would say to answer this question, because they might not have thought of that. It's taken too long to come up with, and then they're like, oh, okay, that's what she's asking me. And I think that's really good.
I taught the word rather. They're like, what's rather? I was like, oh, this is great. What would you prefer? What do you want more? So they totally learned something new, and then we practiced it the whole time, extension and reward all in one. Like, it was really great. It was a great class.
Well, I love those would you rather, but I have one student that's like, what? I don't want one eye or flowers in my ear. I'm like,
those are not good
it's
ones.
just pretend. And he's like, I don't know, neither one, none. I'm like, okay.
I don't pretend.
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't get. Teacher, what are you asking me? It's so funny because he just thinks I'm nuts. I think, like, he's like, why are you asking such a weird question? I'm like, it's for fun. Like, it's just, what if this or this? He's like, none, teacher, none, not this, not this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have grass for hair or flower for ears. And he's like, do people have that? No. So be aware, if you do would you rather questions, not everybody gets it or wants to play would you rather, because they're like, no, neither one. You had some too.
I said, would you rather never say anything or sing everything? And she's like, only sing sometimes. Like, that's normal.
I did a would you rather, and it was a Google Slides where would you rather wash dishes by hand or put them in the dishwasher? Well, they didn't know what a dishwasher was. So that kind of was like, okay, well, I guess we can't do that. I mean, obviously I explained it, but there wasn't really two options for them to choose.
Yeah, you're losing the whole fun of it at that point when you have to explain the dishwasher.
Yeah, exactly.
So choose your would you rather questions carefully and the right student, because if the first one bombs and the second one bombs, change it up because they don't get it or they don't know. They would rather not either one, teacher. Sorry.
Yes.
All right. Anybody have anything to add?
I think you should all get
level 5 and 6.
Yeah. Don't get level 5, get 6, but unless you have to.
I think you have
for your kids to go up.
I think you have to.
You have to get it before you get 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I got them at the same time. It was like a really long time ago. I'm an old school VIPKid teacher.
Well, maybe by next time I will be certified in level 5, and I'll let you guys know if I have any students between now and then.
Awesome.
All right. Well, then that is it. Don't forget to go follow us on all of our channels and all of our social media, where you can find that at the beginning. We're not going to repeat ourselves because, we are going to go start our weekend.
I think
And
that you should add that if they like VIPKid, we are all out school teachers too.
Yeah. yes, we are. That is good. If you like VIP
Every
Kid,
single one of us.
if you like OutSchool, you want a referral, reach out to one of us. We won't be offended that you didn't reach out to us. We're here to help. We love it. It allows us to stay home with our kids, our families, and do exactly what we want to do. Work for ourselves mostly, and not, big boss man upstairs, whoever that is.
Amen.
Yes.
All right. So we will come by next week with another video for you. And thanks for
What's
watching.
gonna be next week, Allison?
We did not talk about that.
I think it's gonna be 7 or 8 or 7 and 8.
Yes, but we have to talk
And
about
you
that.
will be the only one
I
talking, Danielle.
Oh no. Okay. Well, okay, then just go to my channel because I have a whole video on 8. I'll go make one
There you
on
go.
7, and then you
There
guys
you
can
go.
I'm gonna make you guys all want to get in 7 and 8. How about
I'm
that? Next
certified. I just haven't been booked in 7.
time?
We lost Alejandra.
There she is.
You will.
There
You'll
she
get
is.
a. You'll
Sorry.
get. You usually get 7s, and those are your 7s. You don't get like a lot of new ones. So.
That hour block scares me. So I'm not like,
Oh, we'll talk all about it. It's super easy. You guys
Can't
can
wait.
do it.
all right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.